meetings and following consultation with the acting mayor, group leaders and whips, members of the council have pre-registered to address us on various items of business, and as such only these members named within this note will be called for each item of business. Can I ask that members and officers leave your microphones on mute and your cameras off during the meeting? For those members who have pre-registered to speak on an item, when I ask you to speak, please unmute your mic and put your camera on and say your name, and allow a brief pause until you are visible on screen, whilst the live feed transfers, and then comment. Can members please refrain from using the chat facility on Teams during the meeting? Please keep the pre-agreed time listed for speakers as detailed in the note. In advance of today's meeting, myself and members of the council have been sent an electronic copy of the agenda. Voting by exception. For voting on items on the agenda, I will ask of any members firstly if they wish to dissent or secondly abstain. For those members who have joined the meeting virtually via Microsoft Teams, if you have the facility, please virtually raise your hand and unmute your mic, and when asked by me, please state your vote. Any member who has joined virtually but doesn't have a virtual hand button, please clearly raise your hand, and when prompted by me, please unmute your mic and state your vote. Any remaining members recorded at present for the item and meeting will be recorded as voting in favour. I will announce the vote outcome as carried out or lost. As members will recall, full council on the 30th of September formally adopted the virtual procedure rules which shall govern the conduct of these three meetings. First meeting, extraordinary City Council meeting.
Lord Mayor, apologies for absence have been received from Councillors Joanne Calvert and Frank Prendergast. Are there any further apologies?
No further to report, Lord Mayor.
Declarations of interest.
Lord Mayor, can I remind members that you are only required to declare at meetings any disclosable pecuniary or prejudicial interests, in which case the member will need to leave the virtual meeting during the consideration of the item. Are there any such declarations?
None, Lord Mayor.
Freedom role of association. Before I invite the acting mayor to move to the recommendation, can I place on record that in addition to the British Army's contribution to the COVID crisis, that I will be asking the Freedom of the City panel to bring a recommendation back to an extraordinary council meeting in March, which recognises the outstanding contribution of all our community groups, local organisations, neighbourhood groups, businesses, and the significant amount of individuals who have stepped up and stepped in to provide food parcels, cooked dinners, picked up prescriptions for elders and looked after our most vulnerable in the city. At times such as this, we can be proud and humbled as to how families and communities have helped us and supported each other and demonstrated the resilience and community spirit for which Liverpool is well known and loved. It is my hope that the Council will support such a proposal. Can I now invite Councillor Wendy Simon to move the recommendation? Formal confirmation has also been received that the recommendation is seconded by Councillor Linny Hinnigan.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The people and organisations chosen for Freedom of Liverpool and Citizen of Honour awards have made a profound contribution to life in the city over many years and played an integral role in the city's response to COVID-19. The freedom role of associations and institutions. The City of Liverpool has a long and deep-rooted association with the armed forces, and we are tremendously proud of the contribution made by service personnel, both here and abroad, to communities that need their support. At the height of the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in November 2020, the Associated Regiments of the British Army, led by 8th Engineer Brigade on behalf of Standing Joint Command United Kingdom, were assigned to support the City of Liverpool in its fight against the pandemic in coordinating and providing mass testing across the city. We owe the British Army personnel an enormous debt of gratitude for their work in establishing and staffing test centres across the city. Their professionalism, patience and helpful demeanour supporting people through the testing process. Nothing of the kind, either in scale or to such demanding timeframes, had been attempted before in this country, and they should be truly proud of their role in helping Liverpool and the wider city region fight this devastating virus. I am delighted to recommend to Council that we award the highest civic honour the city can bestow in recognition of the military's outstanding leadership and contribution to the communities of Liverpool.
Can I invite Councillor Richard Kemp CBE to speak, please?
My Lord Mayor, it gives me great pleasure to second this, but firstly, could I comment on the suggestion that you made, which I fully support, that we ought to have a resolution at an extraordinary meeting of the Council in March. I would like to ask, though, that this be referred to the group leaders, because I think now is the time when we could be looking at something very substantial in the autumn. I won't be precise about that because who knows how the coronavirus is going, when we can involve the churches, the unions, the community groups in something spectacular in the city. And I'd like to think we would start the process of dealing with that, even if we can't be precise about it. It's a great pleasure to second this motion relating to the regiments of the British Army. They really pulled out the stops for us, both in a strategic sense, getting 2,000 people into the city quickly, trained, working, and with a system that was able to deal, frankly, with people like me. And on at least two occasions, two squaddies really helped me fill in the registration form because I could get my lateral flow test, because I'm not too good on the old IT stuff. I think we could have done better with rewarding them by putting them in pontins in Southport, but they bore all fortitudes with great dignity. They said it was slightly better than apparently than Hellmand for those that had been there, but we must not underestimate the work that they did in helping make our city safer at a crucial time, and I'm delighted to be able to second that we remember them and support them and add them to our roll today.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Can I just say that our troops were sent away, many of them, with the best curries in Liverpool, and they were very well looked after in terms of food. And so can I bring in Councillor Steve Radford to speak?
Lord Mayor, I understand Councillor Radford is suffering some problems with traffic this evening and will be somewhat late to this evening's meeting, so I suggest you move on to Councillor Crone.
Thank you. May I invite Councillor Tom Crone to speak?
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and I fully support the recognition of the military's role in the mass testing pilot. It was a huge effort, it was a massive logistical challenge, and they played a really important part of it. And the most important thing about it is, of course, that it did help identify thousands of people who were asymptomatic, who were walking around our city with coronavirus without knowing it. And that we could get those people isolated, help Liverpool tackle our infection rates, which were very high, and we did an amazing job getting it down. So it's a really important contribution. I'm glad you made your comments about recognising other groups, because that's something I really wanted to highlight as well. I'd add council staff to that as well. The council staff have made a huge effort and pulled out all the stops to make Liverpool's response to the coronavirus one of the best in the country. So yeah, on behalf of the Green Party, thanks to the military for that.
Thank you, Councillor Crone. So now we'll move to the vote. Are there any members against?
No dissent, Lord Mayor.
No dissent. So moving on to so the vote is carried unanimously. Thank you. So moving on to Citizen of Honour. Can I invite Councillor Wendy Simon to move the recommendation? Formal confirmation has also been received that the recommendation is seconded by Councillor Lynnie Hinnigan.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to endorse and formally move the recommendations of the Freedom Panel on the 8th of January 2021, and to continue our tradition of recognising individuals' outstanding contributions to this city. The first of which is Dennis Hardiman MBE. All of us here want children in Liverpool to have the best start in life and realise their full potential. You would be hard pressed to find anyone who has done more to deliver that ambition than Dennis Hardiman. Born in New York before moving to South Wales as a child, Dennis started his teaching career at St Paschal Bailyn Catholic Primary School in Chilwell. He then went on to become the city's youngest head teacher at just 32 and was appointed by St Sebastian's Catholic Primary School in 1983. St Sebastian's and St Cuthbert's Catholic Primary Schools federated under one governing body in 2006, with Dennis as executive head teacher. Under his tenure, they have been consistently top-performing Liverpool primary schools, receiving excellent Ofsted inspections and featuring in the Times top 250 primary schools in England. He is much loved and respected by the children, staff, parents and local communities who speak of Dennis's determination that only the best is good enough for our children. He received a very well-deserved MBE in 2017 for his services to education and retired in August 2020 after a long and illustrious career. Dennis is modesty personified, always acknowledging colleagues for their support and contributions to delivering consistently high standards. But you need only listen to his peers commending his compassion, intuition and outstanding leadership to know that we are recognising someone very special. For Dennis, I'm sure the most rewarding recognition is hearing from past pupils about all they went on to achieve, having taken from their school motto into their hearts and lives, only my best will do, and be kind to one another. Generations of children in Liverpool have received the very best start in life, thanks to Dennis, and I am proud to recommend to Council that we make this award in recognition of his tireless efforts to improving the lives of children and young people in the city.
May I invite Councillor Richard Kemp to speak?
Thank you very much, my Lord Mayor. Wendy has said so much about this very good man. I would add on that one of my colleagues, former councillor Pat Maloney, has been the chair of his governing body for more than a decade and asked me to express his personal good wishes and support for this motion today. Councillor Elizabeth Makinson also knows him well. Being a teacher is something that is well beyond my capacity. For a start off, you have to be patient. But those people who bring our city forward, person by person, pupil by pupil, are the people who really make sure that this city has strong and lasting foundations. Dennis has exemplified that, and I have great pleasure in supporting this motion today.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Can I now bring in Councillor Tom Crone, please?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Dennis was clearly a much-loved head teacher who worked really hard over 37 years to give a lot of children in Liverpool the best possible start in life, which is absolutely something that deserves recognition. And I think at this particular time, it's really important to be recognising the role of teachers in our community. They've been particularly hard hit by what's happened over the last 9-10 months. They've been on the front line looking after our kids whilst they know they're putting themselves in danger, and they're having to learn techniques to teach online, to engage kids through the screen of a computer, which must be a big challenge. So it's fantastic that we're recognising Dennis, and I also think we should be paying tribute to teachers as well.
Ordinarily, I would have invited Councillor Radford to speak, but he's still running late, so we're going to move forward to the vote on this, please. Are there any members against?
No indication of dissent, Chair.
So carried unanimously. Okay, moving on to item 4, Citizen of Honour Posthumously. Can I invite Councillor Wendy Simon to move the recommendation? Formal confirmation has also been received, but recommendation is seconded by Councillor Lily Finnegan. Councillor Simon.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I am pleased to endorse and formally move the recommendation of the Freedom Panel on the 8th of January 2021 and to continue our tradition of recognising individuals' outstanding contributions to this city. John Haynes. John was a hugely influential figure in the business community, and his contribution to the city and beyond will be a lasting legacy. After leaving school at 14, he worked as a cabinet maker in Kirby before honing his skills at the Co-op, where his passion for self-development really began to take root. John served as Regional Director of the Royalston Alliance before moving on to establish what is now the International Coaching Academy. His astute business brain and warm personality made him an incredible ambassador for the city and an invaluable source of support to many local people. City entrepreneurs such as Andrew Dwerryhouse, Dave Connor and Terry Hamill all credit John in their personal and business success, and he supported many elected members on their own journeys to make a difference to this city. John would encourage everyone he met to become the best version of themselves and was always willing to go the extra mile to help people who would benefit from his advice or counsel. Quite simply, people felt better after being in his company. A mentor once told John that an old man dying with his knowledge still inside is like a library burning to the ground. This had a profound impact, and John certainly made sure that his own library of knowledge would live on long after he left us. His contribution to Liverpool and its people will endure for years to come, and I'm delighted to be able to recommend to Council that we make this posthumous award in recognition of his efforts.
So, Razak Mossa. Thank you, Wendy. Councillor Sammy.
Abdul Razak Mossa, or Razak, as most of us knew him, embodied public service at its very best. Razak had worked for the council for almost 3 decades until his retirement, joining as a social work assistant in 1993, before working his way up to management in several different roles, most recently as a senior manager in Careline, supporting some of the city's most vulnerable adults. He was an extremely popular and well-respected colleague. He was considerate, kind, and always had a smile on his face. Having been born in a small village in Yemen, Razak made Liverpool his home, marrying and raising a family here. And to think he only intended to stay in the city for a short time to complete his electrical engineering studies. Razak was a passionate advocate for integration and community cohesion. He was one of the founders of the Liverpool Arabic Arts Festival, the UK Yemeni Community Coordinating Council, and his stellar work with the Liverpool Arabic Centre, both as a volunteer and later its chair, is renowned across the city. His tireless work has helped countless families of Arabic descent integrate and gain an understanding of our city, for them to access key services and become a vibrant part of the city's civic life. People's lives are better and will continue to be better because of Razak Mossa. Liverpool welcomed Razak with open arms, and he gave so much back to the city that he loved. I am so proud to recommend to Council that we make this award in recognition of his services to our city.
Can I now introduce Councillor Richard Kemp to say a few words? Thank you.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. It's a pleasure to support both these nominations. I knew both of them, and John is a person that gave capitalism a good name. It's sometimes possible to see capital and labour as absolutely opposite sides of the coin, but John showed you can make some money, you can be an entrepreneur and still do it and provide good jobs and support and solidity for the workforce of Liverpool. Razak was very concerned in his last 4 years about the state of his own former country, the Yemen. Real problems, of course, in the Yemen at the moment, which regrettably we're helping to feed with arms sales via Saudi Arabia. We can't do anything about that, but perhaps we can say the importance of people like Razak is that we need to be conscious of the good things that immigrants do for our country when there are some people around who think they're always a burden, they're scroungers, they do no good. So many immigrants come to this country as Razak did and actually contribute to the wealth, prosperity and well-being of our city and our country. So when I honour Razak, I do honour all those other immigrants as well who play such a strong part in developing our multicultural, forward-looking city. Thank you, my Lord Mayor.
Can I now bring in Councillor Steve Radford?
I'll waive that if I may. I've just settled in. Can I apologise for being late due to the congestion on the water dock? So apologies.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Radford. If you want to come in after Councillor Tom Crone, you'll have the opportunity then. Councillor Tom Crone?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just to say briefly that these are two people who've, in their own ways, both made an enormous contribution to life in Liverpool. I didn't know either of them myself, but as a fan of the Arabic Arts Festival, I always find that one of the good things that happens in Liverpool. I know firsthand the impact that Razak has had on the city. They both leave behind legacies that their families can be proud of, and I'm happy to support this motion.
Councillor Radford, would you like to come in?
No, that's fine. I think everything's been
Okay, so can we now move to the vote? Are there any members against?
No expression to dissent, Lord Mayor.
So that is unanimously carried. Just on this point, I'd like to just say a few words about John Haynes and also Razak. Both have left an impact on this city and beyond. The work that John Haynes has done is second to none, and many of our leaders in the city and potential leaders in the city have come through the doors of the Coaching Academy. And also in terms of Razak, the contribution that he's made in terms of bringing communities together, his integrity and honesty and commitment to community will live on far beyond this time. And so if we can move now to the end, this is the end of the first extraordinary meeting, and so can we now